Have you noticed that the most powerful voice in your life isn't the one coming from others, but the one you repeat inside your own head? That voice can be your greatest ally or your deadliest enemy. Napoleon Hill called this autosuggestion, the ability to program your mind through the words, images, and thoughts you feed it every single day. This isn't mystical theory, it's practical psychology. Whatever you repeat with conviction sinks into the subconscious and begins to shape your choices, your behaviors, and ultimately, your results. And that's exactly what you'll discover today. How to turn simple phrases into mental commands, strong enough to sustain desire, build unshakable faith, and reprogram your path to success. By the end of this video, you'll understand why controlling your inner dialogue is not optional. It's the difference between living limited by doubt or building a reality guided by conviction. Autosuggestion for Hill isn't some abstract concept. It's the practical mechanism that connects conscious desire to the power of the subconscious. In plain words, it's how you feed your mind with messages that, when repeated often enough, stop being imagination and start becoming your identity. And here's the brutal truth. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between truth and lie, dream and reality. It absorbs whatever you repeat with enough emotion and persistence, treating it as fact. That's why inner phrases like, "I never succeed," "I'm not good enough," or "this isn't for people like me," eventually turn into self-fulfilling prophecies. You repeat them, you believe them, and without realizing it, you act as if they're true. But imagine the opposite. If instead of feeding weakness, you declare every day, "I can, I will, I refuse to quit until I win," your subconscious absorbs that too. It begins to redirect your focus, your choices, and your actions to align with the reality you've declared. It's not magic, it's mental training. Here's the powerful point. Autosuggestion is the bridge between burning desire and unshakable faith. You might start with doubt. That's natural. But the more you repeat a clear affirmation of your goal, the more your mind grows used to that vision. Slowly, what once seemed distant starts to feel possible. What once seemed impossible begins to feel inevitable. Hill was clear. If you want to turn thought into wealth, you must learn to talk to your own mind. Write your goal in detail. Declare it aloud. Repeat it morning and night. Visualize it as if it already exists. This isn't empty ritual. It's a technique to reprogram the subconscious. Because your mind is like a garden. If you plant nothing, weeds take over by default. But if you plant deliberately, if you repeat, water, and nurture the right seeds, sooner or later, the harvest appears. Autosuggestion is exactly that. Conscious planting. The most shocking part is this. Nobody escapes autosuggestion. You're already using it, whether you know it or not. Either you use it intentionally, repeating messages that strengthen your desires, or you become its victim, unconsciously repeating the fear, doubt, and limitations the world throws at you every single day. Think of the child who grows up hearing, "You're not smart. You'll never make it." That's not for people like us. Those words, hammered in year after year, become unconscious beliefs. And the result? Adults who sincerely believe they are incapable, not because they were born that way, but because they were programmed to believe it. That's the dark side of autosuggestion. It always works, even when it's working against you. But there's also a brighter side. History is full of people who consciously reprogrammed themselves. They replaced every limiting phrase with affirmations of strength, repeated so consistently that they reshaped their very identity. Take Muhammad Ali. Long before he became world champion, he declared over and over, "I am the greatest." At the time, it sounded like arrogance. But it wasn't arrogance. It was autosuggestion in its purest form. He declared it so often, believed it so fiercely, that his mind and body began to act as if it were already true. The result? He became exactly what he said he was. This is the same principle athletes, leaders, and entrepreneurs use. It's not vanity. It's survival. It's the way they keep their minds aligned with the outcome long before the world can see it. Modern psychology and neuroscience back Hill's words. The human brain is shaped by repetition. Every thought, every word, every mental image leaves a mark. The more you repeat it, the stronger that pathway becomes, until it turns into a habit of thought. Scientists call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, to create new connections, and to transform repeated mental patterns into behavior. That's why affirmations matter. If you keep telling yourself you're incapable, your brain will align with that program. But if you repeat daily declarations of clarity, strength, and direction, your brain begins to confirm them, showing you opportunities where before you only saw walls. Autosuggestion becomes like an invisible lens. Feed it fear, and you'll see obstacles everywhere. Feed it desire and faith, and you'll start to see possibilities that others overlook. It's not coincidence, it's focus. And focus changes everything. Hill was brutally honest. Without mastering autosuggestion, you'll never sustain burning desire or build true faith. Because autosuggestion is the daily training that keeps desire alive and strengthens faith until both are unbreakable. It's the tool that turns thoughts into conviction, and conviction into reality. The mind is fertile soil. Autosuggestion is the seed. Repetition is the water, and the harvest is inevitable. You reap exactly what you plant. So the real question isn't, does autosuggestion work? It always works. The real question is, are you using it for yourself or against yourself? At its core, autosuggestion is not about positive thinking in the superficial sense. It's about something much deeper. The way repeated thoughts carve grooves into the mind, shaping how we interpret reality and ultimately how we act within it. From a psychological perspective, the subconscious functions like an obedient servant. It doesn't ask whether what you feed it is true or false, empowering or destructive. It simply accepts repetition as reality and begins to build behavior around it. That's why the internal dialogue we carry is not harmless background noise. It's the very script of our lives. If the script says I always fail, the subconscious will find ways to confirm it. If the script says I am capable, I will persist, I will achieve. The subconscious begins to align everything, attention, energy, decisions, toward making that script real. This is not magic, it's conditioning. Modern psychology calls this cognitive priming. When certain thoughts are repeated often enough, they become mental filters. You don't see reality as it is. You see it as your programming allows. The person who constantly repeats opportunities are scarce will fail to notice the doors opening around them. The one who repeats opportunities exist everywhere will notice signals, cracks, and openings invisible to everyone else. And here's the practical truth. Autosuggestion is happening whether you use it intentionally or not. Every commercial you watch, every criticism you hear, every self-deprecating phrase you mutter under your breath, these are all forms of suggestion. Over time, they create beliefs, and beliefs create behavior. So the real power lies in taking control of this process. Instead of letting the world plant weeds in your mental soil, you deliberately plant seeds of clarity, strength, and conviction. Napoleon Hill understood this a century ago, long before neuroscience gave us the term neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated experiences and thoughts. Every affirmation, every visualization, every declaration is, in essence, physical training for the brain. You are building circuits, and those circuits determine how you think, how you feel, how you act. That is why Hill insisted, write your goal. Speak it. Repeat it morning and night. Visualize it as if it were already real. Not because the words alone have power, but because the repetition etches those words into the subconscious until they become the foundation of identity. And once identity shifts, behavior follows effortlessly. Think of it this way. Willpower is weak. It bends easily under fatigue and pressure, but identity is strong. When something becomes part of who you are, you don't need to force it, you live it. Autosuggestion, then, is the bridge from wishful thinking to identity-level conviction. It transforms I want into I am. And when the mind accepts I am, the world begins to bend accordingly. The final reflection is this: no one escapes the power of autosuggestion. The only choice is whether you will be a passive victim of unconscious programming or the conscious author of your own mental script. Hill's challenge is both empowering and ruthless. Either you feed your mind with purpose and desire until it burns into reality, or you allow fear, doubt, and mediocrity to write your destiny for you. The responsibility is entirely yours, because in the end, you do not become what you wish, you become what you repeat. In the end, you become what you repeat to yourself every single day. Repeat weakness, and you'll harvest limitation. Repeat doubt, and you'll build invisible barriers. But repeat strength, faith, and clarity, and you'll build a mind that refuses to quit. A mind that inevitably finds the path to success. So ask yourself, what phrases are you allowing to echo in your mind? More importantly, which ones will you choose to repeat from now on? Because that choice could be the dividing line between a common life and an extraordinary one. Write your new internal command in the comments. Declare it. Because once you declare, you give your mind the order to make it real. Subscribe to the channel. Share this video with someone who needs to reprogram their mind, and leave your insights below. And if today you've understood the power of autosuggestion, get ready. Because in the next chapter, we'll uncover the fuel that turns desire into achievement: knowledge. You'll discover how specialized information accelerates results, and why lacking it can cost more than you imagine. Don't miss it.